Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved, verse number 36. Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnasa Smaranti nandanti tabe hitam jana Taeva pasyanti achirena tavakam Bhava prabaho paramam padambujam Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnasa Smaranti nandanti tabe hitam jana Taeva pashyanti achirena tavakam Bhava prabaho paramam padambujam Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnasa Smaranti nandanti tabe hitam jana Taeva pashyanti achirena tavakam Bhava prabaho paramam padambujam Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnasa Smaranti nandanti tabe hitam jana Taeva pashyanti achirena tavakam Bhava prabaho paramam padambujam Nandanti tabe hitam jana Taeva pashyanti achirena tavakam Bhava Prabhaho Paramam Padambhujam. Shranvanti Gayanti Grananti Abhikshnasa. Smaranti Nandanti Tabehitam Jana. Abhikshnasa. Smaranti Nandanti Tabehitam Jana. Taeva Pashyanti Achirena Tavakam. Bhava Prabhaho Paramam Padambhujam. Anti Gayanti Grananti Abhikshnasa. Oranti Nandanti Tabehitam Jana. Taeva Pashyanti Achirena Tavakam. Bhava Prabhaho Paramam Padambhujan. Shrinvanti. Hear, Gayanti, chant, Grinanti, take, Avikshnasaha, continuously, Smaranti, remember, Nandanti, take pleasure, Tava, your, Ihitam, activities, Janaha, people in general, Te, they, Eva, certainly, Pashyanti, can see, Achirena, very soon, Tavakam, your, Bhava Pravaha, the current of rebirth, Uparamam, cessation, Pada Ambujam, lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Translation with repetition: O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see Him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life, full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see Him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha and Sishupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it's not possible to see Him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc. by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord face to face. The reason is that first item, Shravana, is very important. If hearing is from the right sources, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. There are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In the Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. And in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings with his conjugal associates, the gopis, as well as with his married wives at Dwaraka are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. But sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer, so a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulge in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the above mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to spiritual life. It is said that the Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relation with him. Hearing of all these scriptures is essential. Hence the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. The title for today's class is Crossing Beyond Illusions Currents, as given by Srila Prabhupada's disciples for this book, Teachings of Queen Kunti. And if you see, each of these words that is used as the title has a specific meaning. Crossing beyond illusions currents. So crossing means we have to cross, we have to go beyond the currents of illusion. Now the biggest problem is we don't know that we are in illusion and there are currents. Forget about crossing, going beyond that. Even the currents of illusions don't seem like they exist. And that is why the verses like this are so powerful, so wonderful by Queen Kunti. Amazing verses. And not just amazing verse, it's amazing purport by Srila Prabhupada. So wonderful this purport. And there are two classes Prabhupada has given, one in Los Angeles and one in Mayapur. Both are amazing class. So if you look back what we have been discussing in this portion of Bhagavatam, the ordeals of Queen Kunti and Pandavas have come to an end now that Yudhishthir has become coronated, has become the king. And Krishna apparently was ready to go back to Dwarka from Hastinapur. That's where Queen Kunti has started offering these wonderful prayers. And the ordeals that they had to go through, like being poisoned, being put in the lac house, the Brahmastra being released by Aswathama, and so on and so forth. Queen Kunti also had to go through each one of them because she was the princess and she didn't have a choice. But she mentions that this kind of dangers or calamities, when it comes, it becomes an impetus for a person to call out the Lord very feelingly. Or in other words, if we don't have those dangers in our lives, then when life is going very comfortably, somehow to call out the Lord doesn't come out so feelingly. Janma Ishwarya Shruta Shribhir Edhamana Madah Puman Naivharti Avidhatum Vai Tvama Kinchana Gocharam. Naivahartum Avidhatum Vai. So that feelingly calling out doesn't come. There is a very interesting English proverb which says, there is no atheist in a foxhole. Foxhole is a place where, when the Second World War was happening, people used to hide themselves in this, digging some hole and being there inside that. Back home, you may say whether God exists or not. But when you are on the edge, when you know that anything can happen, you have, God, somehow, whoever it is, whatever it is, protect me. There is no foxhole in the, there is no atheist in the foxhole. So Kunti Maharani, of course, is a great devotee, and she has been citing reasons as to why Krishna has been taking birth. What is the necessity for him to take birth? And we had a beautiful verse in the last class. Who remembers? Don't look. Bhavesmin klishyamanana avidya kama karma bhi Shravana Smarana Arhani Karishaniti Kechana. This is our memory because we are the products of Kali Yuga, isn't it? Prabhupada says the first two lines of that verse summarizes our existence in this material world. Bhave asmin klishyamananam avidya kama karmavi sums up our material existence. Bhava is to become. Become what? Become old, become diseased, become dead. Bhava asmin klishyamananam. So this material world is very troublesome place. Klishyamananam. Bhave asmin klishyamananam. What is the reason for that? Avidya kama karma bhi. Reason is because we are ignorant. We don't know. We think that this is a nice place. We can be happy eternally, live here permanently. Avidya. And because of avidya, we work hard, very hard, because we want to be happy. So we are working hard. Avidya, kama, karma bhi. So there is a desire to be happy, and to fulfill that desire to become happy, we are working hard. Lot of hard work, lot of desires, very small pleasure. Again, lot of hard work, lot of desires, very small pleasure. Again, lot of hard work, lot of desires, very small pleasure. But we are keep on doing that. Assuming even somebody is happy, somebody is in a comfortable situation, assumingly, it's not true, hypothetically. Bhabe, because the force of time is such that the body is going to deteriorate. And Lakshmi is so chanchala, today it is there, tomorrow it will not be there. That is why klishyamananam, it's a very miserable place. Bhavesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karma bhi. We don't realize avidya, we don't realize kama, we don't realize karma. So Krishna comes to rejuvenate this process of devotional service. Shrinvanti, gayanti, grinanti. abhikshnasa. No, sorry. What was the previous verse? Shravana, Shravana Smarana Arhani Karishaniti Kechana. He comes so that this process of devotional service can be rejuvenated by the process of hearing. When he enacts these wonderful pastimes, we get an opportunity to discuss, hear. We get an opportunity to remember. What little happiness we are getting in this mad material world for which we are so passionate about. There's nothing. So Krishna comes to rejuvenate that process of devotional service. And going forward in this verse, he is telling, Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnasa smaranti nandanti tavehitam jana tayeva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. There are 5 things which are mentioned here. Shrinvanti, gayanti, grinanti, abhikshnasa is continuously. Shrinvanti, gayanti, grinanti, abhikshnasa, smaranti, nandanti. 5 things. Shrinvanti is to hear, gayanti is to glorify, Shrinvanti, gayanti, grinanti is to accept, smaranti to be able to remember, nandanti to take pleasure in others' doing. Shrinvanti, gayanti, grinanti, abhikshnasa, smaranti, nandanti, tabe hitam jana. It's actually very beneficial to human beings. Tayeva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. Tayeva pashyanti achirena tavakam. He can see the path, not taking a lot of time, without further delay. Achirena tavakam bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. What is the path? By this process of devotional service, which Kunti Maharani is mentioning, these 5 things, one can see the lotus feet of the Lord. And seeing the lotus feet of the Lord is a cessation. Uparamam bhava pravaha paramam padambhujam. Bhava pravaha, this torrential flow of this repetition cycle of birth and death, there will be a cessation by looking at the lotus feet of Krishna. I don't know if you do a exercise of counting how many times Prabhupada uses the word hearing in the purport. Probably 10-15 times the significance or importance of hearing the word, the importance of the word hearing in the purport being mentioned. But why don't we get a taste for hearing? How many times we have heard Krishna Katha is so important. Why that feeling doesn't come to us? The moment we start talking about some material topics, कल गए थे हम लोग वहाँ पे, कहाँ पे? स्नो टीवी या अभी इंडिया इंग्लैंड टेस्ट मैच, 4th मैच, बहुत बढ़िया सिचुएशन में है. Moment you, there are different triggers for each one of us. Oh, the moment we bring that topic, immediately our attention goes. But when it comes to Krishna Katha, आराम से बुलाओ, बोलो खाना है, सब कुछ है, सुन ले बाबा, टेस्ट ही नहीं आता है. There's no taste. We see others, okay, that fellow has gone, so why should I sit? I also should for the 3-4 लोग दिख रहे हैं, let me also go. क्या है, पता नहीं क्या बोलने वाला है. We don't get a taste because we don't have understanding what this Krishna Katha can do. Today's class, I have 7 words. Just 7 words. If you remember the 7 words, because ultimately, no matter whatever we do, one PPT, then we'll have slokas, but this thing, that thing. Still, end of the day, you ask what was there in the class. Even the words itself, we don't remember. Because we don't go back and reflect. We don't do a mananam. We don't do contemplation. We don't think this is important to us. So the first word that I have, of course, this title is, it is saying going beyond the illusions currents, but I think the appropriate title will be efficacy of hearing and chanting. What is the desired result of hearing and chanting? Why are we chanting every day? Why there is Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya? Why should we do this? What is the desired output of this? That is what Prabhupada is mentioning in this very beautifully. The first word is VRS. What is VRS? यंग लोगों को VRS पता नहीं है क्या? चलो बोला नो नो हाँ वॉलेंट्री रिटायरमेंट scheme. Okay. Volunteer retirement, you said? Severals. Sever, like you cut, is that? No. How do you spell that? Severance, okay. Okay, voluntary retirement service, voluntary retirement scheme, voluntary retirement severance, whatever it is, you got the meaning. First word I am using VRS because unless we voluntarily take retirement from our so-called busy material life, we will be forced to take retirement by Krishna. Forced. No mercy in this. Actually, the laws of nature are so stringent. The karma act in such a stringent way. The moment our lifespan comes to an end, there is no bargain. You can't say that, no, I need little more time. I can become serious now. I didn't do that the whole life. Now time has run out, but now I have understood. Please allow me some time. No. It's over. There is a very beautiful definition of devotional service, because we all are thinking we are engaging in devotional service, which is given in the first canto, second chapter, 12th verse in the purport. Very beautiful. Actually, it is worth memorizing this. You can repeat after me. Devotional service is based on the foreground of full knowledge and combined with the detachments from material association, which is fixed by the oral reception of Vedanta Stuti, is the only perfect method through which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the supreme absolute truth. So this is a definition. I love this definition. Of course, nobody says that this is the definition, but this is a statement which is there in 1.2.12. Beautiful line by Prabhupada. Devotional service is based on the foreground of full knowledge. If you remember the Buddhi Yoga, those of us who are attending advanced Bhagavad Gita, Buddhi Yoga is action on the foreground of knowledge, solid foreground of knowledge. So devotional service is based on the foreground of full knowledge. You just can't do whimsically, jo man mein aaya, no. On the foreground of knowledge, combined with the detachments from material association. You know, it is not just doing devotional service based on the foreground of knowledge, also detachments from material association. And how that person is fixed? By hearing, fixed by the oral reception of Vedanta Stuti. So one has to hear, the person has to hear the Vedanta Stuti. He is fixed on the platform of submissive oral reception. Oral is hearing, related to our ears. Oral. Prabhupada uses this word at various places. Fixed by the oral reception of Vedanta Stuti is the only perfect method through which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the supreme absolute truth. Actually, why we don't get, I was just thinking, why we don't get a taste for hearing is because we are not seriously inquisitive about transcendence. The seriousness about transcendence is not there in us. We're not seriously. Had we been seriously inquisitive, I would like to know, what is this thing? My eagerness to hear will be rapt. I'll hear with rapt attention. But we don't do that. So that is why all the definition of VRS that you gave, remember another definition of VRS, voluntarily regular study. If we voluntarily study regularly the scriptures, then naturally there will be a time when initially I don't have taste. I don't want to, but I need to, because this is needed. is the only perfect method through which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the Supreme Absolute Truth. This is the only method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the Supreme Absolute Truth. Without this, it is not possible. So that seriousness to know about transcendence, we have to develop. So the first word is VRS. Now if we see the purport, what a wonderful purport actually, if you pay attention. The first few lines of this purport, Prabhupada is writing, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. So, the Lord cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. Impossible. This charma chakshu, to see the Lord is not possible. So then what is the solution? We have to develop a different condition of life by developing full of spontaneous love of Godhead within. And Prabhupada gives example, when Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everybody could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha and Sisupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. It's not possible to see the Lord unless we have the necessary vision. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was sitting here around 5:30 p.m. in the temple hall. There were a group of devotees who came, group of visitors who came from Connecticut. So there were two couples, basically husband wife. They drove from Connecticut. They were searching for temple nearby and they saw India Heritage Foundation, Boston. I don't know how it is, but and that's how they were very curious, and they came, and their interest or the eagerness to see the Lord kept on increasing as they approached the place. They had no idea how this place is going to be, but they saw that this is the temple. So they were saying that when they drove, they saw that this pink building is looking so great. They drove, nice, parking lot. They parked the cars. They came here and they were so happy. They were talking. I could hear their whisper or the murmur. That light that we have along the staircase, those strip lights, they were appreciating. So nice it is. They came here. They were seeing the marbles. So nice it is. Checkered tiles, whatever. Alternately this thing. And so nice decoration, they are looking everywhere, and they are going and touching that marble, white marble, whatever, very good. Everything they did, they're not looking at the deities. They came all the way for that, everything, pillar, sab kuch dekh rahe hain, everything. I was surprised, ye kya log hain? And then finally, they were seeing that I am sitting there, and then they came, and they bowed down to Prabhupada, somehow they were sitting. Still there, this thing has not gone to the deities. So Prabhupada is saying that the Lord may be present before our eyes, but it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. Our darshan, the way also we have darshan of the Lord varies based on the condition that we have. If we have no knowledge, I will tell you my personal example. When I joined ISKCON Bangalore, and when I came to ISKCON Bangalore for the first time. When I came to ISKCON Bangalore, I was impressed by the architecture and the deity Radha Krishna Chandra, amazing, beautiful form of the Lord. But then that definition of that darshan changed over a period of time. It is not the same as it was when I came for the first time to see the beautiful form of the Lord. Now, after you hear and, you stay with the devotees and then you go for darshan, it's another thing that, I want to see the Lord, but what if the Lord also wants to see us? Actually, darshan doesn't mean it's one way. Even the deities, they are also looking, what happened to that person today? Manglarti, Mardiyas, Dandi, something. What if the deities are thinking, where are they? Our definition of darshan changes based on what we hear. If we have not heard anything about the Lord, what we will speak about him, what we know about him, nothing. So like that, those people, they are coming, they are seeing everything else but not looking at the deity. And Prabhupada says the statement, the very next statement in this purport, very powerful, where he says, the necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. Beginning with hearing. Hearing is such a powerful thing. Necessary qualification to see the Lord is developed by the process of devotional service only. I told you there are 5 things which are mentioned in this verse. Shunvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Smaranti, Nandanti. There is one more verb which is used. Shunvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Avikshnasa, Smaranti, Nandanti, Tavehitam Jana, Tayeva Pashyanti. This path is called the path of seeing the Lord through the process of hearing. Tayeva Pashyanti Achirena Tavakam. You can see the path by the process of hearing. It's a very powerful process. And this is also mentioned elsewhere, but the second word that I want to use is called pellucid. Have you heard? How many of you have heard this word? Any GRE people? Word list? Word list? Pellucid. Search kar raha hai Nikhil. I'm not going to ask the meaning, but it is one of the high frequency word list. Yesterday I asked them plethora. P mein chal raha hu main to ghum ke. Pellucid has got the word lucid in it. Lucid means clear. Pellucid means completely clear. Clarity. There's no confusion. Actually, if you see the context in which Bhagavatam is spoken, this is Sutta Goswami explaining this 18,000 verses to the sages who have assembled in Naimisharanya. And how did he get this knowledge? He heard once from Sukadev Goswami when he was telling this to Parikshit Maharaj with rapt attention. One time, all 18,000 verses he remembered and he could repeat it. Pellucid. When the mind is clear, when the mind is free from all contaminations, when the mind is free from agitation, then our attention is perfect. We ask people just 15 minutes back, we would have told something. Can you repeat that? Oh, Prabhu, so much, the expectation is unjust. हम लिखेंगे उसको वो ये करेंगे फिर बाद में उसको मेमोराइज करेंगे then also if you ask whether we can tell or not, we don't, because our mind is always disturbed, very disturbed. Sutta Goswami heard with rapt attention the clarity in the mind when it is free from agitation. His mind is constantly racing, kya is going on, but he heard and he could repeat. So this process of seeing through hearing is also given not just in one place. This is the third thing. What is the first thing I told? VRS. Second is pellucid. Third is seeing through hearing. This is a term which we should remember and often repeats in Bhagavatam. It's called Shruta Ikshita. Shruta Ikshita. Ikshita. Ikshita is to see. Shruta is to hear. Seeing through hearing. Shruta Ikshita. There is a verse which is offered by, is a prayer which is offered by Brahma before the creation. Very beautiful verse. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja ase shrutekshita patho nanunatha pumsam yad dhyatu urugaya bibhabhayanti tad bapuh pranayase sad anugrahaya. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja ase shrutekshita patho nanunatha pumsam. Actually, it's so wonderful, this verse, so beautiful, Brahma's prayers. Yad dhyat tad urugaya vibhabhayanti tad bapuh pranayase sad anugrahaya. Tvam bhakti yoga, if somebody engages in the path of devotion, tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja. Ase is to sit. Actually, the Lord, when somebody engages in the process of devotion, starting with the process of hearing about the Lord, then the Lord sits in our heart Hrit Saroja Ase. Patho is the path of seeing the Lord. Nanu Natha Pumsam. Nanu Natha Pumsam. The moment we constantly hear about the Lord in our heart, it could be about Lord Ram, it could be about Lord Krishna, it could be about any incarnation of the Lord. Yad dhiya, whatever we are thinking, whichever pastime of the Lord, like Hanuman constantly is thinking of Lord Ram. So that form of the Lord will manifest in our heart. Hrit Saroja Ase Shrutikshita Patho Nanu Natha Pumsam. Tattad Bapuh Pranayesa Sad Anugrahaya. The Lord is so merciful based on our mood, our devotion, our eagerness, the way we are engaging in devotional service, He manifests in that way in our heart. Actually, the Lord is there, but because of this ignorance, contamination in our heart, we are not able to perceive Him in our heart. Hrit Saroja Ase. The Lord will sit in the Hrit Saroja, in the lotus of our heart, by the process of Shrutekshita, by the process of seeing through the process of hearing. Fourth thing is, how do we develop taste? That's the whole thing. Whole crux is, how do we develop taste? Now, this is very beautifully given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his famous Sikshastakam, in the first verse itself. In the first verse, there are 7 benefits which are given of the process of devotion, starting with chanting the names of the Lord. And the 7 benefits which are given of chanting, or it is hearing, whatever you want to say, the chanting and hearing together, is given in the form of 7 analogies, 7 powerful analogies. If somebody remembers this, it's very powerful, very easily. What is the first one? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. When we hear, when we chant the names of the Lord, Cheta is our heart or consciousness, which is covered with dust. We don't have an understanding that the Lord is right there in our heart. We have no understanding. Why? Because it is covered with dust. Dust of what? Dust of lust. For many lifetimes. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. We know in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where we were reading the different types of covering of the lust. Right? You remember? Fire covered by smoke. Fire covered by smoke, mirror covered by dust, and embryo covered by, the embryo is covered by mother's womb. Right? So different degrees of lust. So this mirror is covered by the dust of lust. And we are not able to see the Lord who's right there in our heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. These are all powerful analogies, powerful examples which the Lord is giving. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is telling, this is the process, the moment you start to this process of devotion, from the process of chanting and hearing, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Bhava Davagni Nirvapanam. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Here it is mentioned, Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padambujam. Either you compare it to, I have seen Ganges in up north, where it starts. I don't remember exactly where it is, maybe Haridwar or one of those places. The force with which Ganges goes is very terrifying. Very strong, Bhava Pravaho. Imagine if someone is stuck, someone doesn't matter how fat, thin you are, if you're stuck in that kind of a flow, you would have seen it in some movie or something. Very strong force. Bhava Pravaho Paramam, Uparamam. It comes to a cessation. Or Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. You choose whether you want to be, in the force of currents, or whether you want to be set ablaze in a fire of this material existence. This is what our condition is. But just by chanting and taking up with this process of devotion, hearing and chanting, this Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, immediately you experience liberation. Immediately you experience relief from this material existence. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Chandrika is moon. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Kairava is a white lotus which blossoms when there is moonshine. So the lotus of good fortune blossoms. This is the third analogy which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. So the lotus of good fortune that is missing in our heart. So Kali Yuga symptoms which Bhagavatam in the beginning it mentions. Prayana alpa ayusa sabhya kalo asmin yuge janaha manda sumanda matayoho manda bhagya upadrata. Manda bhagya, we are very unfortunate. Manda bhagya, very disturbed. We don't have any taste for spiritual life. We're extremely lazy, manda. But that good fortune, that white flower of good fortune blossoms by the process of devotion. Third analogy. These analogies are so easy to remember. Cheto darpanam arjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidya badhu jivanam. Where does this knowledge come? You chant Hare Krishna mantra, you hear about it. Where does this knowledge come? Knowledge is there within. It is not that I have to, again after that, acquire the knowledge from somewhere. This is covered. We don't know the eternal source of happiness. The Supreme Lord is right there in our heart. But we are looking for happiness in this material world. Vidya Badhu Jivanam. That knowledge becomes manifest. Within from the Lord, without from the spiritual master, from the Vedic scriptures. Vidya Badhu Jivanam. Then Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Badhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam. There is an ocean of happiness. So imagine an ocean of happiness, and it is increasing. Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. But unfortunately, we don't have a taste. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the very next verse, he says, Namna Makari Bahuda Nija Sarva Saktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. He has invested, the Lord has invested all his potencies in that, but I don't have a taste, I don't have a belief. So then the third verse is, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. I have to have patience. I have to have tolerance to develop that taste. That mantra is so powerful. It should be always there as our, around our neck, like the neck bead. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That's how we will develop that taste. Sikshastakam prayers, it summarizes that. If you want to know further, what is this illusion? Because the title of this verse is Crossing Beyond the Illusion's Currents. I would recommend sincerely that some time, whenever that is in your own world, in your life, when you get time, pay attention to the prayers of Akrura, because he is considered to be the best in those prayers. Here is one prayer that Akrura is offering, a very beautiful prayer. Anityanatma dukkheshu viparyaya matirhi aham dvandvarama vishto najane tvatmanaha priyam. Beautiful verse. What is this illusion? When we say people that you are in illusion, you have got some misunderstanding about this world. What is it that that we are referring to? Akrura is explaining his situation on our behalf. Anityanatma dukkheshu viparyaya matirhyaham dvandvarama vishto najane tvatmanaha priyam. They are very beautiful prayers. Viparyaya. Viparyaya means exactly opposite. Viparyaya. Sometimes we have heard that example in the 15th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, that upside down banyan tree, right? What is that verse? Urdhva moolam adha shakam, right? Aswatham prahurabhyam. So upside down thing. Something like that happens in our life. There is an upside down thing in our life. Viparyaya matirhyaham. What is that upside down thing, or what is that opposite thing which you are talking about? Anityanatma dukkheshu. Anitya. First thing is anitya, the thing which is temporary, we accept them as permanent. Everything in this material world appears to us permanent. This is the most shocking thing which even Yudhishthir Maharaj says to the answer to Yaksha. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti hi yamalayam sesasthavaram icchanti kim ascharyam athoparam. Every moment, every day, there are people who are dying. There are they're going to Yamalayam. Ahani, ahani. Ahani is a very small fraction of unit of measure of time. Ahani, ahani bhutani gachantihi Yamalayam. Every moment, if you do a search, you will find how many people are dying every moment. Large number. Ahani, ahani bhutani gachantihi Yamalayam. Sesas thavaram. People who are remaining, they are thinking we will make big plans. We will have grand plans of how to live life happily in this material world. Anitya. Anitya, anatma. Second word that he is using is anatma. We think that this material body will remain with us permanently. Anitya, anatma, dukkheshu. And because of that there is dukkha. Anitya, anatma, dukkheshu, viparyaya matirhi aham, dvandva ramas tamo vishto. And the more I am trying to enjoy these dualities, dvandva ramos, tamo vishto. I am entering into the dark region of ignorance, tamo vishto. Na jane tvatmanaha priyam. I don't know that the real best well-wisher of mine is there right in my heart. I am not able to realize. Na jane tvatmanaha priyam. This is when he had the vision when Krishna and Balaram, he was bringing them from Mathura and they were taking bath. He saw the 400 forms of Krishna as Vishnu, and then he's telling Anitya anatma dukkheshu viparyaya matirhi aham dvandva ramastamo vishto na jane tvatmanaha priyam. And then there is another thing, this illusion, to understand this, he gives this another verse, the very next verse. Yatha buddho jalam hitva pratichannam tad udbhavai abhyeti mrigatrashnam vai tadvad tvaham paramukhaha. Tadvad tvaham paranmukhaha. Very nice verse. How many of you have seen a desert? So many of you have seen. I was not expecting this many hands to go up. Okay, very good. So, initially when I was working in the US, I was in Los Angeles and I was in San Diego. San Diego, though there is some water, actually it is a desert. There is a portion of San Diego which is considered to be Death Valley, they call it. Interestingly, in the desert, there is a strange phenomena which happens, which is mentioned here, which all of us we know, but very powerfully Akrura puts it. Yatha budho jalam hitva pratichannam tad udbhavai. Actually, in desert, you will find maybe there is some place where there is some water. But that water, because of that water, there will be some grass which will grow and it will cover that water. And it will not appear that there is water underneath. But there is one place where the water is appearing, which is called Mrigatrashnam. Abhyeti Mrigatrashnam vai. So the person who is standing right next to the place where actually water is there, but the water is covered, he is seeing somewhere else Mrigatrashna and he is running after that. So he is telling Yatha Budho Jalam Hitva Pratichannam Tad Udbhavai. Actually, the grass, where it is coming from? It is coming from the same water. The water which is there in the desert, that water is only producing the grass, but that grass is only covering that water. Similarly, the material world, the material energy is coming from the Lord, but that same material energy is covering the Lord. Yatha Budho. Budho is foolish people. Yatha Budho Jalam Hitva Pratichannam Tad Udbhavai Abhyeti Mrigatrashnam. And we are looking for water somewhere else. We are running after that. Abhyeti Mrigatrashnam vai tadbatvaham pranan mukhaha. Powerful words. So these are the illusions which we are in. This illusion only is covering the Supreme Lord. We are not able to understand that He is there right in our heart. And the moment we establish our relationship with the Lord, who is the supreme source of unlimited happiness, automatically we'll be happy, blissful. And we don't know about that. So we are looking here, there, lot of hard work, lot of desires, little happiness. Lot of hard work, lot of desires, little happiness. And the cycle is continuing. And in the process, we are dying, again taking birth, dying and taking birth, dying and taking birth. Material, this gross body has got a limited lifespan, but the subtle body, mind, is there for so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes have gone. That is why we are extremely fortunate. If anybody asks me, I would say my the greatest fortune is that I came in touch with the devotees. Millions of people in this world, for billions of lifetimes, they are going through. How many people take up to this process of chanting and devotional service? Very few. but yet we don't have a desire to hear properly, to understand and apply it in our life. Okay, 5 is over 6. How to develop a taste? Method 2. First method was? How do you develop taste? The method is hearing. Not exactly. The third verse. You have to develop tolerance. You have to have patience. You have to have that, what is it? Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. The taste will come. I have to have that patience. I have to have that determination. I have to have that tolerance. I have to have that humility. I have to give respect. And I have to never expect respect for myself. Second thing, which is mentioned in the first canto, second chapter. Sushrusho shraddhadhanasya vasudeva katharuchihi shan mahat sevaya vipra punya tirtha nishevanad. Shushrusho shraddhadhanasya vasudeva katharuchi. If we want to develop taste for Vasudeva Katha, ruchi is taste. Shushrusho shraddhadhanasya vasudeva katharuchi shan mahat sevaya vipraha. We have to engage in devotional service to Mahat Sevaya, to pure devotees of the Lord. When we engage in devotional service to the pure devotees of the Lord, we develop a taste for hearing. Shushrusho, the word Shushrusho is translated by Prabhupada as submissive oral reception. That will come. Shushrusho shraddhadhanasya vasudeva katharuchi shan mahat sevaya vipra punya tirtha nishevana. Very powerful, this word Shushrusho. It's used in multiple places. Even in the second verse, dharma projita kaitavo atro paramo nirmat saranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu sibadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni krite kimba parer ishvara sadyo hridi abarudhyate atra kritibi shushrusho tatskshanat. Sadyo hridi abarudhyate atra kritibi shushrusho tatskshanat. The word sushrusho is eagerness to hear, submissive oral reception. Without that, this devotional service it's impossible to proceed. Sushrusho shraddhadhanis, by engaging in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Let's take the example of the first created being, Brahma, when he was created from the lotus of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So Brahma was born on the lotus. And then he was born, then the first thing that happened to Brahma, he was clueless, confused. What should I do? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? So what he did was, he came down through the stem of that lotus all the way down to the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. But he couldn't figure out anything. It was all dark. Then he went up again. And when he went up to the lotus, mind you, all the 14 planetary systems remain in that stem. So he traveled all the way down, went up all the way and came back to the lotus. And that's where he heard these two words, 16th and the 21st syllable, tapa. Tapa, just heard this tapa. So he thought, oh, I heard this, so I'm supposed to meditate now. So this hearing is so powerful. He just heard tapa. And then he sat down on austerity. He did severe austerity. Then the knowledge was revealed in his heart. Shushrusho shraddhadhanasya vasudeva katharuchi. Shushrusho is a very powerful thing, which Prabhupada even highlights in the purport. And that comes by engaging in devotional service to pure devotees of the Lord. And lo and behold, when Brahma got the knowledge from the Supreme Lord in his heart, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Mukhyanti Yat Suraya. Immediately he composed this Brahma Samhita, where he says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Bilochanena Santah Sadeva Hridayeshu Bilokayanti Yam Syama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Bilochanena. When that ointment of prema, love, is applied in our eyes, the same Lord looks different. We hear about him differently. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Otherwise, we will not have any idea of who the Lord is. What is that verse? Om Ajnanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. That ignorance of the eyes need to be removed by the salaka, by the instrument of jnana. Om Ajnana Timurandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So only when we develop the Premanjana can we see the lotus feet of the Lord, and seeing the lotus feet of the Lord is bringing cessation to the cycle of birth and death. So these are the 7 words that I spoke about. First was, second was, third was seeing through hearing, fourth was, first one was, 4A was Sikshastakam, fifth was illusion explained, okay. So you are making notes, okay. Sixth, how to develop taste, and seventh is Premanjana. It's a wonderful verse actually. If you go back and read and understand this process of hearing, so emphatically it is being mentioned, and so helpful, so powerful. Who will benefit if we develop a good taste for hearing? Who will benefit? Is there anybody else who's going to benefit? We will benefit. I was telling yesterday, those people who had come, the same people, they're all from Maharashtra, from Pune. So I told, if I have to tell you, describe something about Tom Brady. They were, of course, they were not knowing and they were quiet. And then I said, describe about Sachin Tendulkar. Fatapat, when we all know Sachin Tendulkar, because we have heard so much about him. I know about him. So if somebody asks you, tell about, Krishna. What if you have not heard anything? Krishna is big, Krishna is good, Krishna is nice, Krishna is my favorite. Usko chhod ke aur kya bologe? So you have to hear, and hear from the proper source, as Prabhupada mentions. If we hear from the proper source, all the transformation happens. The knowledge is right there in our heart. It will manifest. What is that verse? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kavunai Shravanadi Suddha Chitte Karaya Uday. It is there within our heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Shravana Adi Suddha Chitte. Shravana Adi, engaging in the process of devotion, starting from Shravana, the Chitta becomes Suddha. Then the knowledge becomes Udaya. It becomes manifest. So, beautiful, rare human form of life is given to us. More fortunate we came in touch with a pure devotee, and access to this wonderful knowledge is there. Even Prabhupada's disciples, they didn't have this good fortune of having all the 12 cantos together at one time. It used to just come one after another, and they used to have so much of eagerness to hear and read and discuss. We have everything. All information is there, yet we don't have eagerness. We don't have taste. If we can only develop that taste, life will be great. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. Yeah. How do we apply? Yeah, so we are not there, right? And we can't imitate artificially. But if you really want to see the Lord in the heart, who's always there, then the process is by applying this Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. But so does it mean that we should just keep waiting, anyway nothing can be done, and I'm just, by the process of hearing, gradually this ignorance is getting removed, and our vision is becoming clearer. Even the first understanding of what the Lord we had in our heart, I'm sure that has evolved for each one of us in our heart. So ultimately, when we have that, we will be always able to see the Lord. Actually, if you see the recollection of the pastimes of Prabhupada, there are many devotees who say the way Prabhupada used to look at the deities, it is as if he is directly having a conversation. There was a reciprocation. The purity brings that thing, where there is no contamination. One can directly have a conversation with the Lord. So it is not like it is impossible or impractical, but for us, it's a long way to go. Absorption, alertness. So basically, if you are absorbed in material things, material concepts, long back I had told this, AAA. So if you are absorbed in material consciousness, material thoughts, then the activities will follow. Suppose I am thinking absorbed in material, kab hoga ye, kab aayega, India, Pakistan, there is a T20 match which is going to happen in New York. I'm just telling, I don't know. I heard somebody told me yesterday. If I am absorbed in that, I'll think, kab jaunga, kaise launga ticket, tickets are all sold out, now what to do, where will I get this, activities are, and I'll be very alert, khatam ho gaya to. But the same thing, if I change to spiritual thing, if I am absorbed in spiritual topics, spiritual thoughts, if my mind is completely absorbed, there is no question for any material things. I'll be doing spiritual activity and I'll be alert. Hey, today is Ekadashi, tomorrow is something else. I have to be very alert. I can't just miss it. So absorption leads to activity. Activity is actually in the bodily level. Absorption is in our mind level. And alertness is our intelligence level. Intelligence is always alert. I don't want to miss whether $10 discount hai, I'll go and get that. If somebody is absorbed in material things. Same holds true for a spiritualist. He doesn't want to leave any spiritual thing. Very alert about that. That's the intelligence. They are, but here the most important thing that is mentioned is about the quality of hearing. In hearing lies everything, but only if we can perfect our process of hearing. Otherwise, we sit in the class. There is that story of one man who was trying to sell 3 dolls, identical looking, but they were differently priced. One was $10, one was $1,000, and another one was $10,000. So there was one curious person who asked, they all look the same, why this difference in price? He said, the first one, if you put a stick, it will go from here, it will come out in the other side. Second one, if you put it, it will go, but it will break. The third one, it stays, it doesn't break. So sometimes we hear in 1 year, the next year it's gone. The moment the class is over, people start talking about material topics. That's actually one of the tests. The moment we hear, हो गया मतलब class अभी तो तेरा बच्चा कैसा है, मेरा बच्चा ऐसा है, तेरा किधर गया ना, स्कूल जाना है उधर. Some things come because we are always busy in talking about that. Over. Second one, it goes, but it doesn't make that transformation. It breaks. It stays for some time, we don't contemplate about it, and it doesn't produce the desired result. And the third one is where you actually meditate on that, you contemplate on that, and it brings the transformation in the heart. Like Prabhupada gives his own example when he was about to take initiation. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur noticed, he told that, oh, Abhay Babu, I know he likes to listen. That was his qualification. But there is another story, and with this we'll close. Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada mentions this in the Vedaves, it is there somewhere. In those days when Prabhupada used to go to Gaudiya Math in 1920s, there used to be a doctor who used to donate 60 rupees to Gaudiya Math. And 60 rupees those days might be 60,000 now, or could be, I don't know, 6 lakhs possibly. Maybe 6 lakhs is a little too much. Maybe 60,000 for sure it will be. Maybe 6 lakhs possible. So he used to give 60 rupees, and one day, in the class, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving the class, and this doctor was sitting next to Prabhupada, and he just leaned towards Prabhupada to say something, a few words in his ears. And Prabhupada also leaned towards him. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spotted that, noticed that. So just because you are giving 60 rupees, do you think you have purchased the temple? What to speak? And just because, if you have something important to share, why are you sitting there? This is to Prabhupada. Why are you sitting there? Why don't you come and share here? So one is a doctor, another is, Prabhupada was a pharmacist at that time. But that one thing which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told is very powerful. So here we see, sometimes some children are doing something, people are running and coming. No, it's a very serious business. Not some ordinary thing. Koi aata hai, jata hai, and we get distracted. Somebody comes. It's not just that one person who's entering. Everybody else gets distracted because they look at that person. So we have to ensure we don't get distracted. We should sit in a manner that even if somebody is coming, he's going and sitting somewhere at the back. Not that he's coming in the front and trying to disturb the whole thing. This significant importance is given to this process of hearing. If only we develop a taste and seriousness and attention to hear, then that mind will become pellucid. Everything will become very clear in our mind, and the retention will be very high. So these are the processes which are given. Our acharyas have set examples for this. We'll stop here and see this beautiful prayers of Queen Kunti as it unfolds. Wonderful prayers, and if you read and analyze and see the thread in which she is bringing this stuff, it's very nice. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada